way that we have to go over again, just because I don't want there to be any confusion. All right, so I'm going to take this from the top, but really what I'm trying to get to is 1, 2, and 3. This is an important takeaway for you guys, because I think I graded some of these incorrectly based on our conversations in class. So I want to make sure you get those points. So let's take a look at this. So we got Joyce. She owns her own gas station. She monopolizes gas sales. So that tells you right there, even though she's not an official monopoly, she is operating as one. And so when we draw this graph, we're going to draw an actual uh, monopoly. Okay. And we're going to show negative economic profits, even though she is a monopoly. So I'm going to come over here. It says draw a correctly labeled graph for Joyce's gas station during February. On each of the following, and I want to show these and make sure they're labeled correctly. So I'm over here. I'm going to have price. I'm going to have quantity. And I start with demand because the market is the firm in this situation. She's rural enough that there are no other gas stations around. Then next up, I'm going to draw in my marginal revenue curve. Marginal revenue curve is right here. It is lower than the demand curve because they can't price discriminate. Joyce can't change the price of the gas depending on who's getting it. Next up, I'm going to put in my marginal cost curve right here. That marginal cost curve is going to give me the quantity that is going to produce, which says I should label as QJ. So I dash down here and I label that as Q and J. I'm going to dash up until I hit the demand curve, and this is actually going to give me my price, and it says to label that PJ. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There's PJ for my price, dash up to price. Now the reason I did this first is because I want to make sure that my costs are higher than my price. If I'm trying to show a loss, the way that I show a loss is by having my average total cost above my price. So I'm going to do that by going right here, like so, whoop, like that. I'm going to call this ATC. And notice I try to stretch it out because I want the minimum point to be kind of the lowest cost point to kind of be at the intersection of marginal costs there. Just a little detail. I'm going to dash up, and that point right there is going to give me my average total cost. So I'll call this ATC1. It doesn't tell me to label it that way, but I'm going to. And now I'm showing a loss. My costs are this big old rectangle right here, ATC1 times QJ. My revenue is PJ times QJ. It's a smaller square. So this box right here is a loss. Now, then it tells me what to shade. It tells me to shade in my deadweight loss. I'm going to come over here, get me a darker color here. Deadweight loss is the difference between where I am, which is at QJ, and where I want to be. Where I want to be is actually going to be marginal cost and demand, where they're equal, because marginal cost also serves as our supply. We call it sneaky supply in class because it's not an obvious one, right? So that is my socially optimal quantity. I'm not there right now, I'm right here. The difference between those two is this triangle right here, and that's our deadweight loss. Okay? So once I've done that, you've earned 10 or 5, sorry, of your 10 points. Let's move on to B. What must be true if Joyce is continuing to operate in February even though she's earning a negative economic profit? So she's not making money. What must be true is that the shutdown rule is not in effect. In other words, the price is greater than the average variable cost, right? And literally, you could have written just that and gotten full points, knowing that currently when I produce, the price of that I get for each unit that I sell is greater than the additional variable costs at that point, right? So as long as price is above AVC, we don't shut down. As soon as price falls below AVC, that's when it doesn't make sense to produce at all, and we shut it down. Okay, moving on. That's one more point. Assume that fixed costs for Joyce's gas station decrease. With Joyce's profit maximizing quantity, increase, decrease, or stay the same? And the answer is it'll stay the same. And the reason it's going to stay the same is a change in fixed costs stay. A change in fixed costs does not impact marginal cost. So there's no impact on marginal cost, right? Fixed cost doesn't impact it at all. So as long as you say something along those lines, you're good to go. The change, the marginal cost is due to a change in variable cost. When variable cost changes, our marginal cost is going to change as well. But when fixed cost changes, that doesn't affect our marginal cost at all. Okay, so as long as you keep that in mind, you're good there. That's C. Just knowing your shifts of cost curves will help you out there. Now, D, this is a place where we kind of, not we, I kind of led us astray, lost a little bit of my confidence, and didn't really give you a straight up answer on a couple of these. So let's take a look at it. It says during the month of July, demand increased so that Joyce now earns a positive economic profit. She's doing well. However, she realizes her profits would have been higher if she had reduced the price of gasoline. Right? In other words, her profit maximizing quantity is not there yet. So if reducing the price of gasoline results in an increase in profit, what must be true about marginal revenue and marginal costs? What must be true is if I'm reducing the price of gasoline, that's going to result in an increase in the quantity, right? The quantity being sold. The quantity is going to go up. I'm going to produce more when I reduce that price. If I'm producing more, it must mean that currently marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. As long as marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, I'm going to continue to increase production. We're going to do that all the way up until marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So the answer is greater than. And you don't have to write any additional information there. Okay? MR is greater than MC. If I mess that up on your FRQ, make sure to check that out, and I'll give you that point back, especially if it makes a difference in your percentage. Okay, number 2, would the price decrease cause quantity and demand to increase, decrease, or stay the same? This is basic law of demand stuff. When the price goes down, that leads to an increase in the quantity demanded. All right, so this is kind of a gimme. It's like, hey, if you didn't get any of these other points, if you know law of demand, we're going to give you a free point here. So this was worth 1 point. Reduction in price increases quantity demand, just like an increase in price reduces the quantity demand. All right, final one. Number 3, would the price decrease cause total revenue to increase, decrease, or stay the same? The answer is actually increase. And the reason is because we know that monopolies are only going to produce in the elastic range, right? Elastic range, meaning the elastic range is all the way up until marginal revenue hits this 0 mark. When it goes sub-zero, when marginal revenue is down here, then we're in the inelastic range. In other words, a decrease in price when we have elasticity, when price goes down, total revenue goes up, TR, right? That is elastic. That is elastic. Inelastic is the opposite, right? When price goes down, total revenue goes down. We call that the total revenue test. So as long as you know that monopolies will always, always, always produce in the elastic range, right here, this triangle right here, always going to be in the elastic range of the demand curve, then you'll know that a decrease in price is going to result in an increase in total revenue. So increase is the correct answer, and it's because we have an elastic range of demand. Okay, if I mess it up, if I didn't give you that point, then make sure that you see me for that point, and I'll make sure it gets to you. All right, that's it. That's that entire FRQ. Thank you very much. Have a great night.